Hello my dear students, welcome back to this video session. In this today's video session, we are going to learn Unit 3 Thermal Physics. The topics which we are going to see is about thermal energy and temperature in a scientific manner, and we also discuss about how the thermal energy is transferred and the effects of thermal energy. Come, let's enter into this lesson.
Dear children, today we are going to learn Unit 3 Thermal Physics. We already know sun is the primary source of thermal energy for all living organisms. Thermal energy is the cause and temperature is the effect. All living organisms need a particular temperature for their survival. In the kitchen, a container with a steel bottom is placed on the induction stove. Do you know why? All of us have a common man's understanding of thermal energy and temperature. But in this chapter, you shall learn about thermal energy and temperature in a scientific manner. We shall also discuss about how thermal energy is transferred and the effects of thermal energy. We already know clearly about what is temperature. So what is temperature? Temperature is defined as the degree of hotness of a body. So the temperature is higher for a hotter body than for a colder body. So always hotness flows from hot to cold. What is the SI unit of temperature? SI unit of temperature is Fahrenheit, Celsius and Kelvin. For Fahrenheit and Celsius we'll say degree Fahrenheit and degree Celsius. And for Kelvin, not a degree Kelvin, only Kelvin. Absolute scale, Kelvin scale of temperature. The temperature measured in relation to absolute zero using the Kelvin scale is known as absolute temperature. It is also known as the thermodynamics temperature. What is thermodynamics temperature? Thermodynamics is the branch of physics study about the thermal energy of system. So each unit of the thermodynamic scale of temperature is defined as the fraction of 1 by 273.16th part of the thermodynamic temperature of triple point of water. A temperature difference of 1 degree Celsius is equal to that of 1 Kelvin. So 0 Kelvin is the absolute scale of temperature of the body. Kelvin scale is defined by the temperature of the triple point of pure water. So now what is triple point? It is a set of pressure and temperature values at which solid, liquid and gas phases can coexist. This is called triple point. Everything will meet at a one point. Okay, that point is called what? Triple point. So the international convention T of the triple point of water is T3. Why? Because three states: solid, liquid and gas. So T3 is equal to 273.16 Kelvin. So always Kelvin symbol should be in caps. Now we are saying 0 Kelvin is the absolute scale, and which temperature we are saying it is a 0 Kelvin or absolute scale. In which temperature the water will be in the three state, for example solid, liquid and gases. All the state will be in the one particular temperature. That temperature is called, we'll say 0 Kelvin or absolute scale. Okay, so that is minus 273.16. In that temperature only water will be in the three state, like solid, liquid and gaseous state. So this is what we are saying triple point of water. Okay. Next, we'll see the relation between the different types of scale of temperature. We already know three scales. We have Celsius, Fahrenheit, Kelvin scale. In that, only Kelvin scale will say absolute scale. Okay, so if we want to convert the Celsius to Kelvin scale, formula, we have formula to use that. So Kelvin is equal to Celsius plus 273. It means in Celsius scale, what is the temperature that we want to write, plus you want to add with 273 degree. Okay, so then we'll get what? Kelvin scale. And then Fahrenheit and Kelvin. So when we convert from Fahrenheit scale to Kelvin scale, we want to use this Fahrenheit. In that scale, what is the temperature? Plus 460 into 5 by 9. Okay, this is the formula to convert Fahrenheit to Kelvin. Thermal equilibrium. What is thermal equilibrium? You know that what is thermal? It is the heat equilibrium. It is the same level of heat, same level of volume, same level of pressure. So what is thermal equilibrium? Same level of heat, temperature. So two or more physical systems or bodies are said to be in thermal equilibrium if there is no net flow of thermal energy between the systems. You know, heat energy always flows from one body to other due to a temperature difference between them. So you can define thermal equilibrium in another way. If two bodies are said to be in thermal equilibrium, then they will be at same temperature. Imagine what will happen if two bodies at different temperature are brought in contact with one another. There will be a transfer of heat energy from the hotter body to the cold body until a temperature, thermal equilibrium, is established between them. So, thermal equilibrium, it is a state in which there is no net transfer of thermal energy. Temperatures are equal. At the molecular level, temperature equilibrium occurs when the rates of thermal energy transfer between bodies are equal. So, two bodies become warm after transferring the temperature. This is said to be a thermal equilibrium. Now, thermal energy. What happens if you leave a cup of hot milk on a table for some time? The hotness of the milk decreases after some time. Similarly, if you keep a bottle of cold water on a table, the water becomes warmer after some time. What do you infer from these observations? In the case of hot milk, there is a flow of energy from the cup of milk to the environment. In the second case, the energy is transferred from the environment to the water bottle. So, this energy is termed as thermal energy. In this figure, we have two objects, one with high temperature and object 2 with low temperature. So when a hot object is in contact with another cold object, a form of energy flows from the hot object to the cold object, which is known as thermal energy. Thus, thermal energy is a form of energy which is transferred between any two bodies due to the difference in their temperatures. So, thermal energy is also known as heat energy, or simply we can say heat. Now, what is heating? Heat energy is the agent which produces the sensation of warmth and makes bodies hot. The process in which heat energy flows from a body at a higher temperature to another object at lower temperature, this is known as heating. So, this process of transmission of heat may be done in any of the ways like conduction, convection, or radiation. So SI unit of heat is joule. It is represent the symbol J. Now, characteristic features of heat energy transfer. Heat energy always flows from a system of higher temperature to a system of lower temperature. That is the first character. Next one, the mass of a system is not altered when it is heated or cooled. And third one, for any exchange of heat, the heat gained by the cold system is equal to heat lost by the hot system. So heat gained is equal to heat lost. Other units of heat energy. Though the SI unit of heat energy is joule, there are some other commonly used units are calorie and kilocalorie. First we'll see what is calorie. 1 calorie is defined as the amount of energy needed to rise 1 gram of water through 1 degree Celsius. In this, we are applying heat on the 1 kilogram of water. So how to find 1 kilogram of water would take 1000 calories for each degree. For example, for 1 degree 1000 calories, another 2 degrees another 1000, so 2000 calories. So her 70 degrees Celsius increase would take 1000 calories into 70. So when you multiply this to 70,000 calories will get. So when you apply heat on 1 kilogram of water through the 70 degrees Celsius, what you'll get? 70,000 calories. Now what is kilocalorie? 1 kilocalorie is defined as the amount of heat energy is required to rise the temperature of 1 kilogram of a substance by 1 degree Celsius. Here different materials store different amounts of heat energy. So 1 kilogram of gold here, 1 kilogram of water is also here. Which one takes a long time to heat? Water takes about 30 times longer to heat than gold, meaning it stores about 30 times more calories. So which one takes longer? Water. Now effect of heat energy. When a certain amount of heat energy is given to a substance, it will undergo one or more the following changes. First one is temperature of the substance rises. And next one is the substance may change its state from solid to liquid or from liquid to gas. Due to the temperature increase and decrease, the substance may change its state from solid to liquid or liquid to solid or liquid to gas or gaseous to liquid. Next one is the substance will expand when heated. Do you know why there is a gap in between the rail? The gap is left between the rails to provide a space for the ion metal to expand and contract during the summer and winter season due to the change in temperature. So during summer time the ion gets increase, expand, and during the winter season the ion gets contract. So if the gap is not left in between them, the rails will bend more and cause derailing of the train. That is why there is a gap in between the rails. So in this what you understand, the substance will expand when heated. What is thermal expansion? When heat energy is supplied to a body, there can be an increase in dimension of the object. This change in the dimension due to rise in temperature is called thermal expansion of the object. The expansion of liquids, example mercury, can be seen when a thermometer is placed in warm water. So, what is thermal energy? Expansion. It is the process where a body expands either area, volume, or shape when heated. All forms of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, undergo expansion on heating. We are going to see in thermal expansion, expansion of solid, expansion of liquid, expansion of gas. In expansion of solid, we have linear expansion, area expansion, and volume expansion. Superficial expansion is also called areal expansion. Volume expansion is also called cubical expansion. Now, expansion in solids. When a solid is heated, the atoms gain energy and vibrate more vigorously. This results in the expansion of the solid. For a given change in temperature, the extent of expansion is smaller in solids than in liquids and gases. This is due to the rigid nature of solids. And why the solids are rigid? What is the rigid nature of solid? Solids are rigid because the intermolecular force of attraction that are present in the solids are very strong. The atoms and molecules of solids are held together by pulling force. That is why when the heat is applied on the solid, it started vibrating first. These constituent particles of solids cannot move from their position, they can only vibrate from their mean position. That is the rigid nature of solids. The different types of expansion of solids are linear expansion, superficial expansion, and cubical expansion. Let's see what is linear expansion. What is linear expansion? When a body is heated or cooled, the length of the body changes due to change its temperature. Then the expansion is said to be linear or longitudinal expansion. So what happens when heat is applied on any body? What happens first inside the body? The atoms and molecules start vibrating because of temperature. So due to the increase or decrease the temperature, the atoms and molecules start vibrating. So after that, what's happening? It starts expanding. Okay. So this expansion is saying that what? Linear or longitudinal expansion. What is coefficient of linear expansion? The ratio of increase in length of the body per degree rise in temperature to its unit length is called as the coefficient of linear expansion. How much of length increased for 1 degree rise in temperature? That ratio is called as the coefficient of linear expansion. This SI unit of coefficient of linear expansion is that Kelvin minus 1. The value of coefficient of linear expansion is different for different material. Let's see the formula for linear expansion. Del L by L naught is equal to alpha L into del T. What is del L? Change in length, final length minus original length. It means, for example, if you applying heat on any rod, its original length is what? 5 centimeter. When you applying increasing the temperature, what happens? There is a change in length. It changes to 6 centimeter. Already original length is 5 centimeter. When you increase the temperature, what's happening? There is increase in length also, that is to 6 centimeter. So how to find change delta L, change in length? Original length, final length minus original length. What is final length? That is 6 centimeter minus original length is what? 5 centimeter. So 6 minus 5, 1 centimeter. That is the change in length. So delta L, change in length is 1 centimeter. This is only for example. Next is L naught. What is L naught? Is the original length, that is already we know. Okay, for example 5 centimeter. Next is delta T. What is delta T? Change in temperature, final temperature minus initial temperature. So everyone know that initial temperature, for example 32 degrees Celsius, giving a temperature. After increasing the temperature only there is change in length. Okay, so you are increasing a 32 degrees Celsius to 33 degrees Celsius. Okay, now you already know that initial temperature 32 degrees Celsius. Now how much of degree Celsius you are increasing? 1 degree. Okay, so final temperature minus initial temperature, 33 to 32 degree is what? 1 degree Celsius. That is the change in temperature, delta del T. Okay, next is coefficient of linear expansion, that is alpha L. Okay, so if you know all these value, del L, L naught, del temperature, this all we know, then you can able to find the coefficient of linear expansion. Okay, so this equation relating the change in length and the change in temperature of the body. So what is superficial expansion? Already we know linear expansion. What is linear expansion? In a body changes only in length when heat is applied on a body. That is called what? Linear expansion. What is superficial expansion? If there is an increase in the area of a solid object due to heating, then the expansion is called superficial or areal expansion. Okay, when you apply heat on a body, what happening here? Area, all area of the solid will increase. Okay, it's expanding. Okay, that is called what? Superficial expansion. Linear expansion, only expansion in length. Superficial expansion is expanding the area of the body. Okay, so this is the superficial expansion. What is coefficient of superficial expansion? For 1 degree rise in temperature, how much of area increased? Okay, that is called coefficient of superficial expansion. But in linear, how much of length increased for 1 degree rise in temperature? Here, how much of area increased for 1 degree rise in temperature? So formula for superficial expansion is that del A by A naught is equal to alpha A into del T. The same like linear expansion also. Okay, del A is the change in area, final area minus initial area. A naught is the original area, del T is the change in temperature, final temperature minus initial temperature. And if you know all this, we can able to find the coefficient of superficial expansion. So like same way, here also the SI unit of coefficient superficial, there is no any unit, only for temperature. SI unit of coefficient superficial expansion is that Kelvin minus 1. What is cubical expansion? Already we saw two expansion, linear expansion, superficial expansion. Linear expansion is change in length, superficial expansion is change in area, and cubical expansion is change in volume. Okay, if there is increase in the volume of a solid body due to heating, then the expansion is called cubical or volumetric expansion. Okay, what is the coefficient of cubical expansion? The same like linear and superficial. For 1 degree Celsius, how much of changes in volume? Okay, for 1 degree rise in temperature, how much of change in volume? That expansion is called what? Coefficient of cubical expansion. So it's the SI unit of temperature. Coefficient of expansion temperature is Kelvin minus 1. Okay, formula for cubical expansion: del V by V naught is equal to alpha V into del T. Okay, already know that del V is change in volume, final volume minus initial volume. V naught is the original volume, del T is the change in temperature, alpha V is the coefficient of cubical expansion. If we know all these value, you can able to find the coefficient of cubical expansion. Different material possess different coefficient of cubical expansion. The coefficient of cubical expansion for some common material given in the table. Here name of the material and its coefficient of cubic expansion. Kelvin minus 1. For aluminium, 7 into 10 to the power minus 5. Brass, 6 into 10 to the power minus 5. Glass, 2.5 into 10 to the power minus 5. Water, 20.57 into 10 to the power minus 5. And mercury, 18.2 into 10 to the power minus 5. This is the some material, particular material coefficient of expansion. Okay, we have learned so far expansion in solids. Now we will learn expansion in liquids and gases. What will happen when we heated up liquids? The atoms in liquids gains energy, and then all the atoms in liquids and gases will move further. It will move longer and longer distance. Why? Because all these atoms in liquids and gases are loosely packed. That is why when it gains energy, it moves longer distance. And then the coefficient of cubical expansion of liquid is always independent of temperature, whereas coefficient of cubical expansion of gases is dependent on temperature. Different substances have different coefficient. For example, if you take milk, it has different coefficient of expansion. If you take water, it has different coefficient of expansion. There is a difference in expansion. When liquid compares with solid, liquid expansion is more than solid, and gases expansion is more than liquid. Why? Because in solid the atoms are tightly packed, in liquid loosely packed, and in gaseous very loosely packed. So cubical expansion of liquid is not dependent on temperature, whereas cubical expansion of gas is dependent on temperature. This liquid thermal expansion is divided into two. One is real expansion, another one is apparent expansion. Let us see what is real and apparent expansion. Liquid thermal expansion is divided into two. One is real expansion, another one is apparent expansion. Without any container, we cannot keep liquid. Yes, no? So when a liquid is heated, it is done by keeping the liquid in some container and supplying heat energy to the liquid through the container. So the thermal energy supplied will be partly used in expanding the container. First, when we apply heat, what will happening there? First, the container will be heat and then expanding. Okay, expanding process will happen. After that, partly used in expanding the liquid, the container heat is transferred to the liquid. Then only the liquid starts expanding. Thus, what we observe may not be the actual or real expansion of the liquid. This is not the actual or real expansion of liquid. Okay, so what is real expansion and apparent expansion? Let's learn. If a liquid is heated directly without using any container, then the expansion that you observe is termed as real expansion of liquid. Okay, without container we cannot keep liquid. But here, what is real expansion? Liquid is heated directly without using any container. That expansion is called real expansion. Okay, it is not possible. Heating a liquid without using a container is not possible. So that we have a apparent expansion. Now we'll see what is apparent expansion. Next is apparent expansion. we already know that real expansion. Okay, if a liquid is heated directly without using any container, that expansion is called what? Real expansion. Actually, it is not possible. Heating a liquid without using a container is not possible. So, in practice, you can heat any liquid by pouring it in a container only. So, a part of thermal energy is used in expanding the container. First, what will happen? The container will expand. After that, the container heat will transfer to the liquid, then expanding in liquid. Okay, so that what we observe. Okay, this is not a actual or real expansion of the liquid. Okay, what is the expansion of liquid apparently observed without considering the expansion of the container is called the apparent expansion of liquid. Actually, we'll use a container here, but we will not consider the container expansion. Only we will consider the expansion of liquid here. So that this is called what? Apparent expansion. Okay, in apparent expansion we'll have expansion of container and expansion of liquid, but without considering the expansion of container, only will consider what? Expansion of liquid. This is called what? Apparent expansion. To understand clearly this real and apparent expansion, we'll have a experiment. In this we will understand clearly what is real and apparent expansion. Experiment to measure real and apparent expansion of liquid. To start with, the liquid whose real and apparent expansion is to be determined is poured in a container up to a level. Mark this level as L1. Now heat the container and the liquid using a burner as shown in figure. Initially, the container receives the thermal energy and it expands. As a result, the volume of the liquid appears to have reduced. Mark this reduced level of liquid as L2. On further heating, the thermal energy supplied to the liquid through the container results in the expansion of liquid. Hence, the level of liquid rises to L3. Now, the difference between the L3 L1 is called as apparent expansion. The difference between the levels L2 and L3 is called real expansion. The real expansion is always more than that of apparent expansion. Now we'll see the fundamental laws of gases. The three fundamental laws which connect the relation between pressure, volume and temperature. What are the three laws? Boyle's law, Charles' law and Avogadro's law. Let's learn what is Boyle's law, Charles' law and Avogadro's law. What is Boyle's law? When the temperature of a gas is kept constant, the volume of a fixed mass of gas is inversely proportional to its pressure. Okay, so here the temperature of gas is what? Constant. So when the gas is constant, the volume of mass of gas is inversely proportional to its pressure. So P is inversely proportional to the volume. When the P is increases, the volume will decrease. When the volume will increases, the pressure will decrease. So P is what? Pressure, V is volume. So what is Boyle's law? When the temperature is constant, here the temperature is constant, kept in 300. Okay, so when you observe this, we can able to understand. Okay, when the pressure is increases, the volume is what? Decreases. When the volume is increases, the pressure is what? Decreases. Okay, this is what Boyle's law. When we see the graph also, we can able to understand. So what is Boyle's law? When the temperature of gas is kept constant. Okay, there is no changes in the temperature. Okay, it is a constant. Okay, the volume of fixed mass of gas is what? It's inversely proportional to its pressure. Okay, so P is the pressure and V is the volume. In other words, for an invariable mass of a perfect gas at constant temperature, the product of its pressure and volume is a constant. So PV, pressure volume, is equal to what? Constant, P into V. Okay, so here we can able to see volume, when volume increases and pressure decreases when the pulling up. Okay, when we pull up, what will happen? The volume increases and pressure what? Decreases. Next, volume decreases and pressure increases when pulling down. This is the variation of volume with pressure. Now, Charles' law. The law of volume. Charles' law was formulated by a French scientist, Jacques Charles. According to this law, when the pressure of gas is kept constant, the volume of a gas is directly proportional to the temperature of gas. So, volume is directly proportional to the temperature. V is directly proportional to T. So, when the pressure of gas is kept constant, here what is pressure? 1.50, that is the pressure. There is no changes in that. Okay, so that it is constant, but temperature is changing. Okay, so temperature is decreasing and increasing from 250 to 450. Okay, so when the temperature is decreases, the volume of gas is also decreases. When the temperature is increases to 450, volume of gas is also increases. Okay, so volume is directly proportional to the temperature. Volume increases, temperature increases. Volume decreases, temperature also decreases. So we can write V by T is equal to constant. Let's see the example to understand Avogadro's law. When we fill the air inside the tube of the cycle, then the shape of the cycle tube changes and it becomes odd. The shape of the cycle tube changes when we pump air inside it. Okay, so there is change in volume. So change of volume with increase or decrease of the amount of substance was studied by the Avogadro's law. Let us study the Avogadro's law about detailedly, and let us understand the law with the help of another example. Suppose we have a balloon in which there is no air filled inside. As we fill the air inside the balloon, then the shape of the balloon changes. When the amount of air increases inside the balloon, then the molecules of air increases, and therefore with increase of molecules of the air, the shape of the balloon changes, and during this process there is no change in temperature and surrounding press. Okay, so this is the Avogadro's law. Avogadro's law states that at constant pressure and temperature, the volume of a gas is directly proportional to the number of atoms or molecules present in it. So, when there is a constant pressure and temperature, what happens? The volume is always directly proportional to the number of atoms or molecules present in it. Okay, so when the volume is increases, the number of atoms and number of molecules present in it, that also increase. When the volume decreases, the atoms and molecules also decreases. So we'll write this V by N is equal to constant. We already know that Avogadro's number, that symbol is Na, is the total number of atoms per mole of the substance. It is equal to 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 per mole. Per mole of substance, how many number of atoms are present inside? That is 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 per mole. Let's see what are the types of gases. Gases are classified as real gases and ideal gases. What is real gases? If the molecules or atoms of a gases interact with each other with a definite amount of intermolecular or interatomic force of attraction, then the gases are said to be a real gases. If you take gases, inside there is a molecules or atoms. Okay, in all the things, okay, inside we have atoms and molecules. Okay, there will be a interaction in between that, from one atoms to another atom. There will be a interatomic force of attraction. Okay, but at very high temperature or low pressure, a real gases behaves as an ideal gases. How? Because in this condition there is no interatomic or intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, when there is no intermolecule or interatomic force in between the atoms and molecules at very high temperature or low pressure, that gases only we are saying what? Ideal gases. Okay, sometimes in some condition only this real gases behaves ideal gases. But what is real gas? Molecules or atoms of a gases interact with each other with a definite amount of intermolecular and interatomic force of attraction. If there is a attraction force, okay, that will say real gases. Okay, what is ideal gases? If the atoms or molecules of gas do not interact with each other, then the gas is said to be an ideal gas or a perfect gas. When we say ideal gas means at very high temperature or low pressure, this real gases behaves as an ideal gas. Okay, so there is no interatomic force in between the molecules and atom, intermolecular force of attraction. Okay, there is no force in between the atoms and molecules when at very high temperature or low pressure. Okay, so that time this real gases behaves like a ideal gases. Okay, so if the atoms or molecules of a gas do not interact with each other, then the gas is said to be a ideal gas or a perfect gas. Actually, we have only the real gases at very high temperature or low pressure only. This real gases behaves like a ideal gas or perfect gas. This ideal gases obey Boyle's law, Charles' law and Avogadro's law. All these laws states the relation between various properties of gas such as pressure, volume, temperature and number of atoms. If the pressure is increases, volume decreases, and volume is increases, the temperature will increase. Okay, these kind of relation will have when the temperature of gas is kept constant. Okay, so in a given state of the gas, all these parameters will have a definite set of values. Then there is a change in the state of gas. Any one or more of these parameters change its value, the above said laws relate these changes. So let's see what is ideal gas equation by combining these three laws. Ideal gas equation is an equation which relates all the properties of an ideal gas that obeys Boyle's law and Charles' law and Avogadro's law. According to Boyle's law, PV is equal to constant. So PV is equal to constant is the first equation. According to Charles' law, V by N T is equal to constant. That is second equation. According to Avogadro's law, V by N is equal to constant. You know, V is volume, T is temperature and N is the number of moles. Okay, and then P is the pressure. After combining equation 1, 2 and 3, you can get the following equation: PV by NT constant. Now the above relation is called the combined law of gases. If you consider a gas which contains mu moles of the gas, the number of atoms contained will be equal to mu times the Avogadro number. Na. So here n is equal to mu Na. N is the number of atoms or molecule present in it, and mu is the moles of gas, and Na is the Avogadro's number. So n is equal to mu Na is the fifth equation. Using equation 5 and equation 4 can be written as PV by mu Na T is equal to constant. So here we are applying the value of n in the equation 4. What is the n? Mu Na. Okay, so when you substitute this value, you will get that PV is by mu Na T is equal to constant. The value of constants in the above equation is taken to be Kb, which is called as Boltzmann constant. The value of Boltzmann constant is that 1.38 into 10 to the power minus 3 Joule Kelvin minus 1. Hence, we have the following equation. Okay, so PV by mu NAT is equal to Kb. Why? Because it is a Boltzmann constant. So in the place of constant, we are writing a Kb. So next step, PV is equal to mu Na Kb T. Now here mu Na Kb is equal to R, which is termed as universal gas constant. So this whole value is equal to what? R. That is mu Na Kb is equal to R. So instead of writing mu Na Kb, we can write what? R. R is the universal gas constant. Its value is that 8.31 Joule mole minus 1 Kelvin minus 1. So PV is equal to RT. So instead of writing that, we just writing R. So PV is equal to RT is the final equation. This ideal gas equation is also called as equation of state because it gives the relation between the state variables and it is used to describe the state of any gas. So I hope you all have understood this. Once again, go through all the topics and write down the equation, okay, 1 or 2 times. Thank you.